Joy and I are gonna go home. I got finished up some work, and then we're gonna be back out here for this evening. And I know pretty much everybody on the team is gonna try to make it out tonight. So good luck to everybody. Hopefully this hay bale bind finally pays off. We sat this thing a lot. We never really saw a whole lot, but this by far is the best setup I feel like we've had, you know, sitting in it. So October 13th, we'll see if it's a magical day. Up and down was good, definitely went left, which would make sense for the wind. Let's go take a look at that. I'm happy with that. I mean, considering that that's more or less because of the wind. We got a little bit of wind drift, so. It is windy. We're gonna sneak into that stand. Golly. We're gonna sneak into that hay bale blind while we got this wind. And hopefully, when the wind dies off, 6x5 or drop tine or somebody will be in the area. Joy and I can have a good hunt. Well, what's up guys? Welcome back to The Chase. It's week 7. Want to say on the front end here, thank you again if you're watching, following along, and just to kind of set the stage, if you're new here, I am very lucky to have some properties, they're permission farms that I get to hunt. There's good deer in the area. We had a lot of summer activity with the bucks that I'm trying to hunt, but the reality is right now, we're not in the game all the time. These bucks are not solely living on the properties I can hunt. There's not a ton that I can do to manipulate bedding, manipulate food, and that's a scenario that I think a lot of people are finding themselves in. My dream, absolutely own property. My dream, absolutely be able to make the improvements that solely benefit deer hunting. But that is just not the case today. And despite that, I am very thankful to the landowners for the opportunities. But going into where we're at right now in this video, as you saw last week, we had the cold front arrive, super high winds, we get the hay bale blind put up. All of this is for the 6x5 buck on the Big Bird property. And I feel like we're hunting what is the best food source. Well, I'm not gonna waste your time and show you what happened on this particular night, because the fact of the matter is we got in clean, the winds finally died off with 30 minutes left, and we saw 2 does. It was not the most eventful night. And I started to think about how I want to break this down, but basically what I want to talk through is cold fronts, the expectations that I feel like we have created through social media and successful hunts. And it can be a bit discouraging if you're a guy that takes the time to go and hunt, you don't see what you expected, your target buck doesn't daylight, all these different components. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can hunt, you should always go hunt. You just don't know if you don't go, as my good friend Drake Lamb would say. But I think there are some variables that you can look at on your particular property, and you might be able to make a better decision that if what you're expecting is actually going to occur as far as timing up an encounter with one of these events. So, right away, one of the things I think that's worth diving into is taking a look at your map. As I look at the Big Bird property, northwest wind, it sets up absolutely perfect for me to walk in, sets up absolutely perfect for our wind's gonna blow. But if you look at the bedding, and while there is bedding very close by, we've gotten daylight photos of plenty of bucks in this spot. The reality is that for very strong northwest winds, it really doesn't. All of our topo lines in front of us, they're falling down in front of us, which is north-facing slopes. They would not be protected from the wind. And frankly, as you push further down the creek line, you start to get some of these southwest facing slopes. And once you get into that creek bottom, really, you've got south facing pretty much the whole way. So one of the things I think is going against us is just the fact that these deer on northwest winds, but especially high northwest winds, they're bedding further away. They're gonna wait for that wind to fall. And until they get up, they can't start making their way to us. So going into day 2 in the hay bale blind, Joy has got some stuff to do. Myself and Evan are heading back in, and we finally had a hunt that produced some exciting encounters. So let's jump into that now, and then I'm gonna break down the rest of my week and kind of my thoughts as far as it went. All right, we're kicking off October 14th.
a lot different conditions. We're back here in the same hay bale blind as yesterday, and as you can see, the wind has fully died off. We've switched bluebird skies for clouds. Still got a north-northwest wind. Pressure's still continuing to rise all day, and we just saw our first animal. A coon popped out over here. We got in here a little bit earlier than last night, just because I feel like the conditions set up for earlier movement. Generally speaking, I just didn't. The worst thing we could do tonight is if for some reason there's a deer, kick them back, bump the bed, and I think we got in clean. I think no expectation. The 6x5's close. Haven't had a picture of them. Haven't had a picture of any bucks that we want to shoot, but it's just one thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about, and specifically Mark talks about, is the do factor. And when you're hunting a buck that does not live on the property, you have to make good, educated guesses of when he's going to be there next. The second you start trying to hunt him like a homebody, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of deer like that. But if you start trying to hunt him the same way, you're going to be very disappointed. And why we are here and not hunting the big deer is my gut just frankly told me to be here. I think we are in the wheelhouse of this deer, and with all the beans getting cut over to the west, and this is another thing to keep in mind, we're sitting about 2 hours apart from each farm. So when we're in one place and make a switch, it's no slouch of things that have to get done to get to the other place. But I'm gonna keep filming this coon. Hopefully, if a deer steps out behind him early, it'll be a good sign. Dude, this camera is so cool. For my camera nerds out there, this thing has autofocus built into the eyepiece. So when I look at that coon, and it can face detect animals, it's insane. Just in some way have that accessible. There it goes. Take these photos off my legs. Alright, well, 5:30, and that was definitely earlier movement than yesterday. We got a ton of photos of that 8-point right there all the way back to summer. And it was an exciting start to the encounter and an unfortunate end. He never caught our wind or anything of that nature, but he definitely stepped out a little nervous with the blind. And then, just went back into the bedding. I did see him kind of flank to the right, which was the opposite of what I'd hoped, considering I believe 6x5's back there, but I don't know. I mean, I've had good experiences with this hay bale blind, putting it in, deer not caring, but apparently this is too much too soon for them. Hopefully that didn't booger us up too bad. He never blew, he never stomped. It was just, he just wasn't having it. So, could have been worse, could have been better. We have right around an hour and a half left, and hopefully the early deer movement continues, and if 6x5 for some miraculous reason does step out, hopefully he's fine with the hay bale. So he's seen it before, it just wasn't here. But good to see a buck. Steps out wide. Okay, he steps out. Yep, I got him. Oh, he's so tiny. Not the deer I was hoping to see. Come on, dude. Everybody else is seeing the blind. Just chill out. His nose are still looking down here. was at like 5 yards, man.
All right, so we finally saw some bucks, and I was very excited and on, pins and needles that either 6x5 might step out, the pincher buck, maybe even this really nice 3-year-old that we got with all the splits. But the fact of the matter is we ended up seeing those 2 bucks, and after the hunt, one of the things I was surprised by, that particular morning, the 2 bucks that we ended up seeing in the evening, I got pictures of them on the very north end of the farm. And it's the same spot that I've got that hawk stand. It's a crossing right there. So you have to make the assumption with the time of those photos that those deer bedded very close to that spot. And that's a pretty far, distance for them to cover to get to us in daylight. And so we ended up getting pictures of both pincher and the split deer. They just were a little late. And this goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning of this video. What I'm putting together is, despite that this is a great food source for me, the bedding that these deer are utilizing on north winds, it's a little too far away, unfortunately. We got does that are bedding close enough, but these bucks, fact of the matter is, they're not making it to us in time. It's just something that the main thing I'm trying to point out here is that cold fronts can produce fantastic results, but I think that you have to not only take in mind, can you get in clean, can you get out clean? Not only do you have to, at this time of the year, I think, have a very good food source. You want to have as best of food, as tight to bedding as possible, but you have to have the bedding close to the food. And in my particular scenario, I think that that's where we're setting ourselves up for a little bit of disappointment. Now, like I said, you never know. He might be up on his feet early. Maybe something bumps him closer. Maybe he wants to check a particular scrape. But the reality is, just thinking about my scenarios, how could I enhance my hunting? I really want to take a look at trying to enhance any bedding that's closer for north winds to my best food source for next season. Now I'm gonna have to talk to the landowners, make sure that they're okay with that. But the other reality is maybe I need to try to find a way to get food closer to the bedding that I've naturally identified. So we had some good hunts. I mean, I certainly have no complaints of seeing deer, let alone seeing deer that close. That hay bale blind is a great tool. I mean, it really, really is. And it's mobile. And so I think that spot's going to be good coming up. There's does in the area. We're getting consistent pictures of pincher. We're getting consistent pictures of that splits deer. I don't know where 6x5's at. I don't know where drop time's at. As far as a big deer update, that buck, haven't gotten photos of him in 10 days, but the difference in the spots is that the beans have been fully cut on the property that I can hunt. And just across the road, there's nearly 500 acres of standing corn. And right now, all the deer, from my just understanding, observations, that's where they're at. And so to wrap up this video, what you can expect from me here going into week 8 is not that I'm giving up on these properties, but until I get some sort of indicator through a picture or an observation from a landowner, etc., I am going to go on the permission hunt. That's not giving up on the properties. It's not giving up on the bucks. I mean, we put in a lot of time to try to be in a good position, but the fact of the matter is, we are now, I think, at the randomness of the rut, focusing on the does on those particular 2 bucks. And I just want to put myself in the game, and I think that there's opportunity out there to have conversations with landowners, exchange work, whatever it is. So I've got a lot of Onyx pins that I've got dropped. I'm going to go and do some knocking and see what we can come up with, because as it sits, like I said, when you're watching this, October 20th, the way I look at it, we got plenty of time to locate a new target. And I just want to hunt deer that are there. And that'll take a lot of luck. It'll take a lot of graciousness from a property owner to give me the opportunity. And so just some factors to consider that I want to dive in as far as cold fronts go. I mean, I just think that some guys talk to me and they get discouraged because they're not seeing what some other guys are seeing. And really, I think it just comes down to the topographical layout of your bedding as it relates to food. And I think that you can make decisions on how to hunt it better, or more importantly, if you have the opportunity, how you can make some adjustments to better enhance the spots that you already have. So appreciate you guys following along as always, and I'm excited to see what the back half of the month has for us. I got to go see an awesome deer with Mike. Very excited for you guys to see that story, and just generally thankful for all the support that you guys show Midwest Whitetail. So anything you want to see with next week's week 8, I'll be looking inside the comments. Maybe it's how I go about asking permission, what I'm looking at on Onyx, etc. Yeah, wish I had a better update for you. I wish it was more exciting, but it's just the reality of my situation, and hopefully some of the things we talked about today help you. Good luck hunting if you guys are out there, and the best time of the year is right around the corner. We'll see you on the next one.